All right, so I've stopped my front-end server, my React dev server, and I want to now at least serve some products from the back end. We're not going to get into the database or anything just yet. I just want to take the file, this products.js that we have right here, and move it to the back end and have to fetch it from React, fetch it from our front end. So what we'll do first is create a folder in the root called Backend. And we need to initialize package.json, and I'm not going to put it in the backend folder. I want the package.json and the node modules to be in the root for the server. So I'm going to go make sure you're in the root, not in the front end or back end, and say npm init. And we're just going to go through this real quick. Description, I'll say Mern shopping cart app. You can put whatever you'd like, and then server.js. I actually meant to put my name there, but that's fine. So that creates a package.json, and I'm just going to put my name. You can put your own, that's fine. And let's install Express. So I'm going to npm install Express. Again, make sure you're in the root, and that should get added here as a dependency. All right, now in the backend folder here, I'm going to create a file called server.js, and this is going to be our entry point for the server, for our backend. And I'm also going to create a folder called data, and I'm going to copy from the front end source folder this products.js. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm not going to move it because that'll break the front end for now. I'm just going to copy it and paste it in the data folder. And then what I want to do is create some routes to serve the products from the back end. So in our server.js, let's bring in Express by saying const express equals require Express, and I just want to take a minute to talk a little bit about modules. So this syntax where we use this require is common.js. This is traditionally what Node.js has used. On the front end, we're using the import syntax, which is ES modules. Now with Node, I believe it was 14.4, you can use ES modules now without having to use something like Babel or without the experimental flag. So we're actually going to do that later, but I'm not going to focus on that right now. For now, I'm going to use common.js, and then we'll move to ES modules later. So let's go ahead and initialize Express with a variable called app. And then we can take that app and listen on a port. Let's listen on 5000, and I'm going to just console log here. Let's just do console log and say server running on port 5000. Now later on, like, this will be in an environment variable, and we'll have separate files for routes and models and controllers, but for now I just want to do something very, very simple. I just want to serve that JSON data, these products. So if I save that and I run node and backend/server, you'll see server running on port 5000. So just these three lines will let us run the server. It doesn't do anything. We don't even have any routes, but it does run. So I can Control C to stop that. Now instead of having to do, node backend server, what I'm going to do is go into my package.json in the root, and I'm going to create a script for start. And we can get rid of this. So for start, we're going to run node backend/server. That way we can run our server now with npm start. Okay, but I'm going to stop that again. And let's create a route. So I'm going to say app.get, meaning that if we get a get request to /, then we want to run a function that takes in a request and a response object. And all I want to do is take that response object and call send. So I'm sending to the client, API is running. And now if I run this with npm start, server's running. If I go to my browser and I go to http localhost 5000, you'll see API is running. All right. Now, obviously, this doesn't really do much, so I want to copy this and I want to create an API route. So I'm going to say /API/products. Get rid of this, and I want to bring in this file right here. but this is actually right here, export default products. This is ES modules, and we don't have our backend set up for ES modules yet. So we're going to change it to common.js, which is module.exports equals products. And then we'll close that up and we'll bring that right in here. So const products equals require dot slash data slash products. And then down here in this route, I'm going to I could do res.send, but it's JSON, so I'm going to do res.json and pass in products. And even though it's a JavaScript array of objects, it's not actual JSON, res.json or res.send is going to convert it to the JSON content type. So if I save that and we restart our server, and now I go to 5000/API/products, you'll see that it'll give us a JSON array with all of our products. Now, the last thing I want to do here before we move back to our front end is create a route to get just a single product by its ID. So I'm going to copy that, and this will be API products /:ID. And what I'll do is the same thing we did in the product screen on the front end. I'm going to just say const product, set it to products.find, and say for each product we want to see where the product._ID is equal to whatever this is, and we can get this with the request object and then .params.id or whatever you have here. So that'll get that single product, and then we'll return it. So it's just going to be a single JSON object. So let's restart the server, and now let's say product/2, and we get that single product. All right, so this is a very, very simple backend, simple server, but I want to now jump back into React and make a request to the backend to get those products, as opposed to just bringing in a file that we have stored in the source folder.